Steve, the morning after after last night, do you know something? That was, I think, what you wanted, wasn't it? In Blackpool, there was a great crowd there, great atmosphere, and some pretty good performances.
Yeah, do you know what? It just went a bit flat during the middle, but what I was really pleased about was, like you say, it's a great venue. You just get a buzz just as you walk in the place. You know, when you walk in at 3 o'clock, ready to get it all set up and ready to rock, as you say. You know, you're hoping that you get a good crowd, and what was really enjoyable was the crowd were there really early, you know, from the first fight.
Yes.
It was busy and an atmosphere, and the majority stayed till the end as well, so it was good. And you know, the setup's great there with the music and the lighting, and you know, where the ring
well, not
position.
For the camera it's not, but it's not bad for the fans.
No. So it was a good night, and I was pleased with it. And it's like really the start of something that I'm planning in Blackpool. I want to do it to the stage where it's not just full on the floor, but we've got the 2 and 3 balconies done. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but that's the plan, that those lads there will be fighting for titles, and they'll be in a proper packed out Winter Gardens, and that's what I'm looking forward to do.
I remember one of the first shows I did with you. I was filming the interviews, and I think he had Mike Stafford doing the interviews for me. It was down at Blackpool, and it was one of those nights that you were talking about. It was cracking. I don't know how many was in there, but the balcony was full, the floor was full, and it was an absolute.
Do you know what? I've done shows with Matchroom and Eddie and Sky there. Funny enough, Scotty Cardle's dad was there last night, and Scotty had boxed on there. I seen Matty Atkins last night.
Oh, did you? I didn't see him.
Who'd boxed on there, and also I look back to, we did some shows with Malone. I forget what the TV was. It was a betting company who opened their own TV channel, and you know. We filled them with Brian Rose and Jack Armfield, so I know how good that venue can be, and you know, 661 next week. I want to make sure before we call it a day that we've had some big successes in Blackpool, mate.
Yeah. Oh, let's say, and that was a nice little inclination to how good it could be, because even though the balcony wasn't full, the floor was, and you know, during the Tyrone Boyne prize fight, I don't think there was a person stood down, because that was a real crowd pleaser.
It was. Let's go through the card. Okay. Anyway, so we started off with the debut of the heavyweight Lewis Wright, and he had the big strong Phil Williams, who's durable, loads of fights, knows his way around, and he handled him pretty well, you know.
There were bits where you've seen him and you look at him, and you know, for a heavyweight, he's really light on his toes, and he throws some great shots from unusual angles. A genuinely exciting prospect.
Do you know what I was thinking last night? If that bridgeweight takes off, that might be the weight for him. But at the moment, obviously, he's having to fight heavyweight. But no, you could see the potential in him there. It was his first fight. A bit nervous, I believe, and you know, he could have worked the body more. There's more things he could have done, but he did a lot of things well.
I was going to say, but the things that he did do were really good. Like, he was placing his backhand really well, using the uppercuts, and again using his feet really well. So I enjoyed it, mate.
Yeah, and then the next one was one of our latest signings, Will Goldie Galloway.
You liked him, didn't you?
Yeah, do you know what? It's the first time I've seen him fight, and all I kept getting to was an handful, and you know, like to fight, and I was probably thinking he couldn't box because of that, but he started off really composed with a lovely jab, and obviously off the jab was coming the overhand rights, left to the bodies, the right to the bodies, and he gives Sergio as good as working over as I've seen him get lately, you know, and
the last 30 seconds it developed into a riot war.
They stood and had it, didn't they? And I think the crowd appreciated that, and it lifted up. But no, I looked at him last night and I thought, yeah, we can do something with that kid.
A real crowd pleaser, mate.
Yeah, he won't be in a bad fight.
No, definitely not. And then we had Umar debut.
Yeah, Umar debut with Fons, and again he did okay for a debut, and you know, he'd probably never say he was nervous, but you know, there was a bit of nerves in there, and you know, he again, like Lewis, did a lot of things right, but there's lots of things you can work on, and there's going to be lots of things you can work on for your first 10 fights. So yeah, it's a solid debut, and you know, I'm sure he'll get better from it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I thought he did well. I was stood with his brother, Kaz, you know, who used to box with us, and Kaz was screaming at him to, like you say, he did a lot of things right, but he could have done a few things more that he didn't do. So yeah, it was good.
And then Brian Collins, the Scouser, and that was a good thing about it. I mean, Umar's come from Blackburn and sold a few tickets. Brian Collins has sold as many in Blackpool as he has in Liverpool, and you know, it just shows you people want to go to Blackpool, and I think once they've seen that venue, they'll want to go there again. So it's nice that we can bring people from outside Blackpool. Obviously, it's built for the Blackpool kids, but you know, we only had 8 fights last night, and we started with 12, and then we're going to go with 10. So there's room for a couple more. So there'll always be 3 or 4 slots to bring in the outsiders.
Another very polished performance, though, by Brian, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was nice. He was nice and neat, wasn't he? And tidy, and he's a nice boxer. I mean, going forward, you know, he's going to have to commit them a bit more and start putting some digs in.
I think he said that in the interview.
Some weight behind his shots, but you know, he's going in the right way, isn't he? You know, he's got to realise that, you know, some people take a bit longer than others to come through, and I think Brian's a lovely, neat boxer. He's got other things to develop and work on, and he'll be very difficult to beat once he gets into a rhythm. Yeah.
Who's next?
Jake Darnell, sorry.
Yeah, that was a good fun fight. You know, I spoke to him. He's a real character, that Jake Darnell, and it was. Listen, not that exciting or anything like that, but it was a good solid win.
Listen, he's got the win. We put him right in the middle when there'd be a good audience, because I know he's very popular in Blackpool, and he sold a shed load of tickets. I mean, he's not with us, and we did it because he was from Blackpool and would sell some tickets and contribute to the show, but also he's friends with all the boxers, and they all like him, and they want him to be.
Like, mate.
They all want him to be part of the event, and it was good to have him involved. And I know, like on the day, he was still running around getting ticket money, and now he just turns up.
He just said that's the last time he's fighting at home. He enjoyed it. He said selling tickets is no fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've done it now. He's been part of a great show, and he's got a win in his own at Blackpool, and a lot of his pals were there, and hopefully his pals will come and support other people as well. So it'd be a win-win for us all. And I understand that, you know, you can just turn up your kit bag and pick your wages up without all the stress of selling tickets, but you know, it's not hard to work out who wins in these shows, is it? All the kids with the right hand lose, but it is what it is. I mean, that happens on all the TV shows as well, and it's only when you start getting in titles that you might have a few swinging around there. But the next one was Jackson Hume, which would have been his last 4-rounder. He fought Jake Osgood, who's becoming a very solid, tough journeyman. And to be fair, he made it hard for Jackson. You know, Jackson pressured and kept throwing loads of shots, but he covered up really well, and he got through.
I mentioned it in the interview with him after the fight. I think if he would have met Jake Osgood 10 fights earlier, I think a performance like that, it probably would have stopped him. But as we've just said, he's learned his job really well, and he gave him nothing, did he?
Yeah. And then the next one, Tyrone Boyne Price ended up fighting the night, didn't it? Really?
Tyrone, he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Tough. Pitbull is a very appropriate nickname for him.
Yeah, he just keeps going that softness, and you know, even though you can see his punches coming from a mile away, he's throwing that many that, you know, the odd one's going to catch it, and Tyrone did get caught with a few, and probably about 10 headbutts as well.
There was a lot of headbutts, but you know, he reminds me of, he's a bit like is he Bulgarian? Is he Bulgarian or Romanian? Romanian version, Softus,
right.
of Sergeant Bomber. But he throws those shots, those wild, big, winging right hand.
Well, as I say, he put Tyrone down in the second, didn't he? And he caught him a few times in the first, but he switched on then Tyrone and started to use his length, and you know he was picking the jab nicely. Then he was getting his backhand off it there. Some shots to the body. You know, I've seen a few stabs to the body that work for him as well, and you know that fight will do him the world of good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And biggest ticket seller, they'll all come back and watch it again, won't they?
The crowd was, I don't think there was a single person sat down when that fight. They were all stood up, all cheering, and they had a lot to cheer about because it was a great fight. And he could have made it easier, like you said.
He bet on his gum shield and carried on and that ended up a great fight. And as you say, like afterwards he had a bit of marks on his head, more so from
a little cut, didn't he?
But no, listen. It was a great fight, and you know, him and Jake Campbell are going to keep fighting and topping bills at Blackpool Winter Gardens, which is good. And like Jake was the last fight of the night, it could have been Tyrone, but you know, we went with Jake, and to be honest, he won easy enough, but because of the expectations of him, I think a few of us was a bit disappointed in the performance. But you know, he's not lost a round with him, probably not lost the second of the fight there.
No.
You know, he was in control, but we expected bigger things off Jake, and you know, it wasn't a bad fight, but you know, we was expecting to be a bit more explosive with
he's
Jake.
Just had 2 first round blowouts, hasn't he? And his dad had predicted that he wasn't going to go past 3 rounds. Like I just said, I don't think he's lost a single. He's not even shared a round in his 7 fights.
Do you know what you've got to say as well? It takes 2 people to tango, and you've got to give a bit of credit for that. That George's job was to come, survive and get through, because he'll probably be fighting next week, and he did it. He held a lot, but you know what you've got to do is learn to how to open up and dismantle these sort of opponents, and hopefully Jake will learn a lot from that and be able to put it into practice next time he comes to someone similar. What
was good about that is, if you remember the last time he performed a little bit, not to those really high standards that we expect from him, was against Carl Turney at Bolton, and he came back with a vengeance, didn't he? So I'm really looking forward to the next time he steps through the ropes, because it kickstarts.
Yeah, well, I would say it's like a game of football, isn't it? And you know, my dad used to always get annoyed when people were like saying, you know, it's the defender's fault that is a goal. Well, if you did everything perfect, every match would be 0-0 with the defence, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? You've got to give credit sometimes to your opponents, and you know, they can make the goals, and that's what's happened there. His defence made it. There wasn't any goals scored last night, but you've got to work on it to get past that, and then it's the attackers who've done well, it's not the defenders who've done bad.
The only person that stopped that, the Bulgarian kid, was a super middleweight who's had 11 fights and stopped all 11 of them. So, like you say, if Jake would have, it would have been a massive statement. But instead, he had to
but like you say, they all stayed behind, didn't they, at Blackpool? And,
they did.
You know, few ambitions left for us, and one of them still to get Blackpool rocking and champions and titles there, and make a couple more world champions before we finish, mate.
Yeah, and like you say, nice to see a few old faces down there, and a real good crowd, a real good atmosphere.
Everyone just comes up to you and says, "Oh, it's fantastic in there." You know, there's people who hadn't been there before. Derry Matthews as well. You know, like you'd have thought he'd have been there before. He was giving, "Wow, this is the best arena I've ever been in." Les Potts, the central area secretary's never been there. He couldn't believe how nice it was. Yeah, so we've got 2 more dates there this year, 4 booked for next year. So let's roll on with Blackpool, and next week to Liverpool. So we'll catch up soon. I can let you know what's happening with that one, mate. Yeah.
Right, nice one, Steve. Thanks a lot,
mate. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.